Sincerely grateful to all of you for so kindly coming this evening, and to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada for so mercifully bringing us all together. The power of Srila Prabhupada's compassion and love even 32 years after he has physically departed from this world, His ever-existing grace, which is the grace of Lord Caitanya and Lord Nityananda, manifesting so wonderfully through him, is still bringing us together to chant the holy names, to hear the glories of the Lord, to serve one another, and to extend His compassion to the whole world. It was for this reason that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left the holy abode of Navadvip, his relatives, his friends, and his loving devotees, swam across the Ganga and ran over 25 miles in his wet clothes, and literally begged and pleaded with Keshav Bharati Maharaj, please give me service to Krishna as a sannyasi. We discussed yesterday the incidents pertaining to the ceremony and initiation of Lord Chaitanya into the renounced order of life, and how afterward, immediately, he danced and induced everyone in the town of Katwa and the surrounding villages to perform Nam Sankirtan. This was his mission. And it was the first thing he did. Induced everyone to chant the holy names. In 1922, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada upon his first contact with our beloved Guru Maharaj, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, instructed him, you should teach the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world in the English language. You are an intelligent young man, you can do this. Prabhupada was a Bihar, but he took that order as his life and soul. And for the next 30 years, he prepared himself. In 1959, after his Gurudev repeatedly appeared in dreams to him, telling him, Abhay, come and take sannyas. This was happening for several years. Srila Prabhupada was so humble, so simple, so honest. He would say, I was thinking how horrible to take sannyas. But these dreams came. His Gurudev was inviting him to take on his mission in life, which means he had to leave everything else aside. Because at that time, no one else was doing it. Back in the 1930s, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur sent some of his senior-most sannyasi disciples and others to England, to Germany, to teach Lord Chaitanya's message. But it was very difficult. They could not accomplish much. And during Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's own life, he brought them back to India. And nothing happened since that time. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was coming in dreams, telling Prabhupada, come, take sannyas. It's the only way you'll be able to do it. You can't have a family, you can't have a home. You have to give your body, your mind, your words, your life, everything. And then some of Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers, Prabhupada said, my Gurudev was speaking through them. They were saying, Abhay Babu, you must take sannyas. You must preach the order of your Gurudev. And he did it. And interestingly, there wasn't many people. In the Keshava Gaudiya Math in Mathura, he was given sannyas by Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Maharaj. And there was only, maybe there was 40, 50 people in the room. There was at the most 3 people in the room who spoke English. Nobody else spoke anything but Brijabhas or Hindi or Bengali. And during the ceremony, or just after the ceremony, Keshava Maharaj asked Prabhupada to speak. And Prabhupada gave a lecture in English. Now somebody may have wondered why that makes sense. Now, for some insignificant, foolish person like me, I would have no choice but to give a talk in English, because it's the only language I know, and I hardly know that. But Prabhupada knew fluent Sanskrit, fluent Bengali, fluent Hindi, fluent Brijabhas. He was living with the Brijabhasis in Vrindavan for so many years. He knew all the languages everybody knew. But he gave his talk in English because the first thing after he took sannyas, he began his mission. to teach Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message in English all over the world. Similarly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came to this world internally to taste, Krishna wanted to taste the sweetness of Sri Radha's love. But from his compassionate side, he came to give what no other avatar ever gave. Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaudateshe Namaha. Krishna's coming to give what even Krishna didn't give. Such free accessibility to the love of the Gopas and the Gopis of Vrindavan. Opening the doors to Sri Vrindavan Dham and inviting the whole world without discrimination. Come, it is your home. I will bring you in. For the simple price of our faith, our little service attitude, and our sincerity to chant the holy names. It is said that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to this world to put the garland of prema bhakti around the entire world through the chanting of the holy names. So as soon as his Gurudev gave him the name Sri Krishna Chaitanya, and the ceremony was over, Mahaprabhu jumped up in ecstasy and said, Mukunda, chant. And by his loving gaze and his beautiful dance, he induced everyone to dance in pure unmotivated love for Krishna. And he embraced Keshav Bharati and they started dancing together. That was a beautiful scene. The Lord said, I will go to Vrindavan. I want to go to Vrindavan to chant the holy names of the Lord there. Keshav Bharati Maharaj said, I'm going with you. And everyone in Katwa said, we're all going with you. Now please understand, there was no warning. Everyone went into the forest on their way to Vrindavan. Everyone had the full intention of just going to Vrindavan. Of all those thousands of people, there were children, there were old people, there were women who were married, women who were unmarried, men who were married, men who were unmarried, and whatever else men do. Everyone said, we're going. No one ran home to pack their bags, bring their credit cards. Nothing. Nobody even had an extra set of clothes. They all just left. That is how magnetic Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotional service was. He made everyone so eager to follow him. Whether he was going to Vrindavan or Calcutta, they would go anywhere he went. Because he gave them love for Krishna. He became their life, their soul, their everything. So they all were moving toward Vrindavan in procession. Hundreds and thousands of people. After some time, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stopped and gazed at everyone with great appreciation for their encouragement. And he thanked them all. And then appealed. All of you now, please go home. There's no reason for you to leave. I'm a sannyasi, I'm going. But the rest of you are grihastas. Just follow these simple instructions. Chant the holy names of Krishna. Hear about Krishna. Serve Krishna. Worship the deity of Krishna. Associate with other devotees. Give Krishna to others. In this way, we will always be together. What he was telling them, in essence, is your home will be Vrindavan if you simply follow these most simple teachings. Filled with ecstatic love, all the people went home. And Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu also requested his Gurudev, Keshav Bharati Maharaj, go back to your ashram, please. And he returned. Then it was just a few devotees. Chandrasekhar Acharya, the Lord's uncle-in-law, and Mukunda and Nityananda Prabhu. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted them to chant. And as they were chanting, Lord Chaitanya was chanting so loudly, and he was dancing with such emotion, just thinking that he had given everything up to reach the hearts of even the most sinful, offensive people in the planet. And just the thought that he had given everything up so he can exclusively worship Krishna, and he was on his way going to Vrindavan. He was in such transcendental happiness. His body was flooding over with the most rare ecstatic symptoms. Tears were constantly pouring from his eyes, not in a human way. When tears would pour from Lord Chaitanya's eyes, it could only be seen like that when a person was totally drowning in the ocean of transcendental ecstasy. There was nothing even close to it. He would be stunned. He would be choked up in his voice as he traveled to Vrindavan. And he was so intensely intoxicated with the holy name that he didn't even know where he was going. Nor did his associates. It was contagious. They were wandering through Radha Desh, a place where the river Ganga does not flow. And wherever they went, whoever happened to see Lord Chaitanya dancing with his long, elegant arms raised and his lotus-like eyes, they were so beautiful, they practically extended to his ears. And his beautiful, beautiful mouth, crying out Krishna's holy names with such sweet love. Whoever saw him ran to join the kirtan. And he would look at them and say, chant Hari Hari. And those people would begin to dance, losing all control of their mind, which is actually the ultimate way of controlling your mind. This is a spiritual principle. The ultimate way of controlling your mind is to completely lose control of your mind. To Krishna. That means to become so absorbed in Krishna. You completely transcend any false egoistic identity that I'm this body, I'm a particular sex or particular race or particular color or particular religion or nationality or any of these things. They are all upadhis. They're all temporary designations. When we become absorbed in Krishna, we see every living being as a part of Krishna. We lose all desires, all selfishness. All we want to do is give Krishna happiness. And Krishna, seeing our desire, is so happy that Krishna from within our heart induces transcendental ecstasy. And that ecstasy helps us to totally overcome everything else. There's no impediments anymore. That's what can happen to every one of us. That is our inherent nature. But Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna who has come to taste the sweetest, highest, and fullest love of Srimati Radharani. When Lord Chaitanya loses his mind, it's the absolute bliss of love. So they were wandering through Radha Desh, and whoever saw them, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would give them Krishna's name and give them Krishna's love. And it was a very remarkable situation because none of these people had ever seen the Harinam Sankirtan procession. It's the first time in Radha Desh that Harinam was performed, just by a few people. For most of these people, it was the first time they ever heard the name of Krishna. It was the first time they ever found out about this kirtan movement. But what an initiation they received. Mahaprabhu was just giving them all ecstatic love of God immediately. And they would all go home to their villages chanting and dancing in ecstasy. As they were roaming through Radha Desh, some little boys who were herding cows, they saw Lord Chaitanya dancing and singing, and they ran up to him with their cows. They ran up to him and started dancing with him, going, Hari, 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 Hari. And the Lord was so happy. He was so happy to see these little boys chanting, Hari, Hari. That the Lord smiled upon them. And with such eyes glazing with compassion, he patted each one of them on top of the head and gave each one of them personally an instruction. Same instruction. He said, please go on chanting these names of Hari Hari. And then the Lord began to praise them. He was glorifying these little children because they had such good fortune that they had developed a taste for chanting the names of Krishna. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains in this regard that in his heart, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was considering himself. He was considering himself so very, very successful because he had induced these children to chant the names of Krishna. This is the Lord's love. When he was chanting and dancing in Navadvip to the house of Chankazi, there were millions of people with him. This was the power he had. But here in Radha Desh, there was just a few little children. Whether it was a few little children or whether it was 60,000 of the topmost scholar Mayavadi sannyasis chanting in ecstatic love and kirtan. Lord Chaitanya was so personally concerned with every living entity. In Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Vrindavan Das Thakur explains, for Lord Chaitanya, all the wealth, all the opulences, in all the heavenly planets, in the entire universe, in fact, do not compare in value to even one of his devotees. There are unlimited devotees in the spiritual world, but the Lord so personally. Now, in this world, the Lord is within our heart as Paramatma. But in the spiritual world, there's no need for Paramatma. So the Paramatma in his original form is playing his flute and dancing and playing with us. So as a Paramatma, the Lord is very, very personal. Please understand how personal it is. The Paramatma in your heart is your personal, private Paramatma. He's been with you birth after birth after birth. Whether you're a snake or a hog or a peacock or a cow. Or whether you're a sinner or a Paramhamsa. That Paramatma's with you. From the moment you come into material existence until you go back to Godhead, that Paramatma is personal God within your heart. And he's the same as everyone else. Everyone else has the same Paramatma, but still, yours is personal. He's with you. Doesn't that make you feel good? But it also should make us feel aware because he's watching. He doesn't only watch the good things, and he doesn't only watch the bad things. He hears, he smells, he tastes, he watches everything. So personally. And in the spiritual world, in our supremely perfect state, that Lord is so personally reciprocating with every single devotee. Nobody thinks, why? What am I doing here? Nobody cares about me. Overwhelmed with affection. And every devotee sees the Lord in each other too. So the Supreme Personality of Godhood who descended from the spiritual world is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Such loving concern for every single living being. Now, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was one of the greatest scholars in the entire world. He was practically like the guru and teacher for the king of Orissa. Many of the biggest, most learned sannyasis around India would come to sit at his feet and learn from him. And when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya woke up early that morning when the Lord came to his door and immediately ate prasad, Lord Chaitanya said, "You're a Brahmin. How are you eating prasad like this without washing your hands or taking your bath or doing achman or whatever else Brahmins do when they, very, very strict Brahmins." He just ate it right out of bed. And he said a beautiful verse, Sarvabhauma, prasad, even if it comes from a distant place, even if it's stale, still one should eat it because it's Krishna's mercy. And Lord Chaitanya became so happy. He said, "My mission is successful. Because Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, this dry-hearted logician, has understood the greatness of Mahaprasad. And here, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, some little cowherd boys. They're not educated. They're not going to be famous preachers or anything like that. They're just little boys taking care of cows. And because they were saying Hari Hari happily, Lord Chaitanya is thinking that my mission is so successful because I have induced these boys to love Krishna and chant Hare Krishna. That is how personal and loving the Lord is. And He wants us to cultivate those qualities also. So seeing how pleased Lord Chaitanya was with them, they were so very, very happy. They were singing and dancing with Him. Then Lord Nityananda Prabhu took the little cowherd boys off to the side and told them a secret. He said, when the Lord asks you the path on the banks of the river Ganga. And he told them a whole story why. So a few minutes later, Lord Chaitanya, he's wandering through Radha Desh for a couple days. Didn't know if it was day or night. Didn't know if he was going north, south, east, west, or any of the 10 directions between. He went up to the little boys and said, "Oh, Gopas, please show me the direction to Vrindavan." And as per Nityananda Prabhu's desire, they pointed the way to the Ganga. Now, why did Lord Nityananda Prabhu do this? Because Nityananda Prabhu knew that if Lord Gauranga did not return soon to the Navadvip area, if he did not give his personal association to his mother Sachi, she would die. And he knew all the devotees, along with Sachi, were totally brokenhearted that he left them. He was willing to take the risk of tricking the Lord for the purpose of doing what he knew ultimately the Lord wanted in the core of his heart. The Lord was in total spiritual ecstasy with the thought of going to Vrindavan. But Nityananda Prabhu knew in the deepest part of his heart, he loves his devotees and he wants to save them. Nityananda Prabhu promised Sachi Devi he would bring the Lord back, and he had to keep that promise. They walked for some time, and then Nityananda Prabhu said to Lord Chaitanya, he said, "Look over there, look." The Lord looked. He said, "Don't you see? It's Yamuna. We have come to the Jamuna." And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Oh, we have come to Jamuna. We have reached Vrindavan." And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in so much divine rapture, he ran to the river Yamuna. He offered repeated prostrated obeisances to the Yamuna River. He took his bath in great ecstasy in the ambrosial nectar of the Yamuna River. He offered beautiful prayers of love. He prayed that, "Oh Yamuna, you are so very, very dear to the son of Nanda Maharaj. And you have descended. You are the same exact waters that flow in the spiritual world of Goloka Vrindavan. And you have come here into this world just to purify us of our sins and give us love of Krishna. O daughter of the sun god, we offer our love and our gratitude to you." What Nityananda Prabhu did is he sent Chandrasekharacharya just about the same time he talked to those cowherd boys. He sent him to Shantipur and said, "Tell Sri Advaitacharya to come on a boat to the Ghat, which is just near Ambika Kalna, and bring dry clothes for Lord Caitanya." So Lord Chaitanya is in ecstasy, and he comes out of the Yamuna River and he's soaking wet, and he doesn't have any extra clothes. And just then, Sri Advaita Prabhu comes riding on a boat. And Lord Chaitanya looked at him. He said, "Advaita Prabhu, how did you get to the river Yamuna? And how did you know I was in Vrindavan?" And Advaitacharya said that wherever you are, my Lord, that is Vrindavan. And actually, this is the river Ganges. We're just across the river from my house in Shantipur. And Lord Chaitanya became quite sober. He said, "Now I understand. Nityananda has cheated me." But Advaitacharya said, "No. Whatever Nityananda Prabhu said is not false. It is true. Because according to the scriptures, at Prayag, the Yamuna and the Ganga, they merge together. And they become one river called the Ganga. But from that point, the western side of the river is the Jamuna, and the eastern side is Ganga. And you took your bath on the western side. That means you took your bath in the Jamuna River. And wherever your lotus feet are, that is Vrindavan. So everything Nityananda Prabhu said is very true. But my Lord, you're all wet. Please put on these dry clothes." So the Lord put on dry underwear and then dry outer garments of sannyas dress that Advaita Prabhu brought for him. And then Advaita said, "I understand that you've been traveling for 3 days and you haven't eaten anything." He was so immersed in Sankirtan Ras that he and his devotees forgot to eat anything. Usually when we have a fire yagya and a festival and initiation, we have a big feast. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his people, they just left for Vrindavan in ecstasy. Said, "You've been fasting for 3 days. I have prepared for you some very simple food. Come and take from my house a palmful of simple boiled rice and some liquid subjis. Come on the boat." So from that bank of the Yamuna Ganga near Kalna, he got on the boat and Advaita Prabhu brought him to his house in Shantipur. He brought him to the temple. And the Lord and Nityananda Prabhu and Lord Chaitanya and Mukunda was there. They saw the beautiful deities of Advaitacharya. And Advaita showed him the offering that was made. And then there was the arti. They all attended the arti ceremony. Then Sri Advaita Prabhu brought him into his special prasadam area. And there was 3 plates, equal proportions on each plate. One was a metal plate, and the other 2 was very large banana leaf plates. Kaviraj Goswami was so exact that the size of the leaf of the banana tree is according to how many bunches of bananas that tree produces. These particular leaves were from trees that produced 32 bunches of bananas, for those of you who are expert in the science. They're very large leaves. And there are pages of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita describing the preparations. Large stack of finely cooked rice. Each grain was like a perfectional, artistic little masterpiece. And in the middle of it, there was a nice quantity of very fragrant, shining golden ghee from cows. And then there was over 100 pots with sabjis. And there were cakes and sweets and savories. It was an unbelievable feast. And there were 3 places. Lord Chaitanya thought that all 3 of these must have been offered to Krishna. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so happy. He said, whoever has prepared such a nice offering for the pleasure of Krishna, I take that person's lotus feet and I keep them on top of my head birth after birth after birth. This was Lord Chaitanya's pleasure, to see that Krishna was happy. And that's how every devotee should feel. That's what unites a community. It's not about you and me. It's about Krishna. What makes Krishna happy is what's going to make us happy. And what makes Krishna happy? Yasya prasada bhagavat prasada, yasya prasada nagati kutopi. The great spiritual masters, their life, their soul, their everything is just to teach us how to make Krishna happy. We may live in a shack like Kolavecha Sridhara, we may live in a beautiful home. But if Krishna has a nice place, we should be happy. If Krishna's eating nice prasad or nice bhoga, we should be happy. Whatever we may have. That's our real happiness. As long as we think, I need this, I need this, I need this, your desires and your wants and your needs will perpetuate anxieties, birth after birth after birth after birth after birth, forever. Until we come to the point, finally, that what does Krishna want? And what will make Krishna happy? Krishna wants us to cooperate. That's a pretty difficult thing in Kali Yuga. Prabhupada told us the story of the 2 sons that were massaging the father, and each wanted the attention of the father. Each wanted the father to think that he's better than the other son, so one son would reach over to the other side and pinch the father. Then the other son would reach over to the other sons and scratch him. And the other would reach over and stab him. The other would reach over and bite him. Just so that the father would think, the other son's a rascal, but I'm so nice. But is the father happy? The father's happy when we give all credit to everyone else and we do everything we can. Amanina manadena. This is foundational principle of Lord Chaitanya's teachings. To offer all respects to others and expect none in return. To be the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the mood of a devotee was in that spirit. How wonderful. I take the dust of the feet of that person who makes such a nice offering to Krishna and keep it on my head birth after birth after birth. And then the Lord said, now get 2 extra plates for Nityananda Prabhu and myself, and just give me a palmful of some simple rice without all that ghee, and I'll take some boiled sabjis. And Advaita Acharya said, actually, this seat is yours. The middle one is for Krishna, but this is for Nityananda Prabhu, and this is for you. Lord Chaitanya said, I can't eat so much. He said, no, you just eat what you can eat. He had nice soft cushion. Lord Chaitanya said, I just took sannyas. Sannyasis cannot eat so many varieties of food. They will not be able to control their senses. And this is so much quantity. Advaita Acharya said, just eat whatever you want to eat, but sit down and eat, please.